We are very excited because my friend Lisa Latimer is here. She's amazing. Her company is Dyka and Latimer Consulting. She's a homeschooling mom and business strategist and helping women in business simplify in order to attract more clients and make a bigger impact. So today she's going to talk to us how we can use Facebook as a free simplified sales funnel, as well as how she's turned simplification and self-care into major parts of her business strategy for fulfillment and sustainability. So thanks, Lisa. We're so happy you're here.
Excited to be here. Thank you so much for inviting me.
Of course.
I'm just gonna let you take it away with what you want to start with, because I know I'm gonna have a million questions. I was like, so much of that was fascinating. So you really have figured out how to create a funnel out of Facebook. So how does that work?
Well, I did what a lot of us do, which was like trying everything and throwing spaghetti at the wall, right? When homeschooling kicked in, it came down out of necessity, really. Like, I don't have time to be doing this and that and that. And I was already spreading myself then when they were in school during the day. But now throwing homeschool into the mix, I said, I have to be really intentional with my time, with my efforts, my energy, all of it. So once I started writing content, and you know, sometimes we're on autopilot, so it took me a minute to realize what was happening. But I started getting DMs from people rather than people DMing me to sell me. They were coming into my DMs asking me about my offers. And I said, wait a minute, this is amazing. And you know, coming into my programs without an uncomfortable sales conversation like that I had experience with in the past, it felt really just more like a friendly conversation of me celebrating what they've already done, them being excited to invest, and just a completely different vibe. So when I realized that I could use just Facebook, have written content and video content within my group, on my personal page, and have this sort of really seamless funnel where people would see the content, come right into my DMs, you know, that's, you know, attracting hot leads from my audience and even from a cold audience, then basically have the conversation from there. And by the time that's over, send them a link and they're in. It's like, it doesn't get any simpler than that. You know, I wasn't ready yet for email marketing. I wasn't yet ready for a lot of the things. I didn't want to do the expensive and very complicated at times funnel programs. My motto is simplicity equals consistency. And I diagnosed that one of the reasons why I was being so inconsistent in the past was because I was creating this kind of cluster bomb for myself that was really hard to function in and really not desirable to want to show up and you know, participate in myself. So how could I expect others to be attracted to that type of energy? So simplification really does equal consistency. And honestly, what is entrepreneurship, you know, outside of creative problem solving, but really a game of consistently showing up. And when you fall, getting up and consistently trying again and consistently testing and consistently communication, like so much of it revolves around consistency. So if you make it simple for yourself, you will show up and you will inevitably have that consistency.
A little bit about the content that you're writing. So did you kind of fumble onto a formula of writing and figuring out what people, you know, are attracted to, what really connected with your ideal client?
Yeah, it started out with one type of post that I call the value bait post. I know you've heard of clickbait, right? And that's kind of an unethical type of thing that we feel a little cringy about. But this is ethically aligned because in the value bait posts, you're actually giving valuable tips and you're doing it in a way where you're inspiring. You're not kind of rubbing salt in people's wounds and pain points. You're using what you've been through as an example to build that know, like, and trust. But then when you drop those tips, you're immediately also showing your authority, your expertise, and then you're inviting them into your DMs. You know, I used to struggle, and I know a lot of us struggle with calls to action. But you'd be surprised at how putting a simple call to action at the end of your Facebook post really entices people to come into your DMs and ask you more questions. And the fastest route to a sale is a conversation, is a quick chat. So yeah, I have people come from cold audiences when they've seen a value bait post and, you know, come just right into my group or jump right into my group and one of my programs. It's great because there are a lot of groups out there that will say you can promote yourself, but you have to add value first, which is why I call it a value bait post, because you're adding value to that person's group. But you're also establishing all those things, the know, like, trust, and expertise. You're making them feel comfortable to come and DM you, which, you know, you're not dropping a direct link. When you're adding value, people don't necessarily need that one link that they click. They'll come to your DMs and they'll say, hey, you know, I'd like to know more. And conversation starter right there.
You know, Jeanne and I basically kind of came into Facebook when it was first Facebook fan pages, because Jeanne was actually doing marketing and helping businesses set up their fan pages. So we've been around since the beginning. But the problem is, because we're significantly older than you, so the problem is that we just didn't really learn to live out loud. And so my question to you is, are you using a business page in a group or your personal page in a group, or all three?
Okay, so, and this is a great question, because when I first came on Facebook, I was so confused between a group, the difference between a group and your business page. So I have all three, but I actively post in my group, on my personal page. It is my intention to start giving my business page some love, but more so to attract more local clients and in-person clients, because I feel like it's really important to have a healthy mix and to be able to just, you know, establish something off of social media, because it is a different energy and it's refreshing. And I also do leverage one other person's group who has built their group up. And that's Social Salad Society. And yeah, so it's so amazing. And, you know, lives are something that play a big role. I go live once a week in my group, and it is also amazing in how I use Facebook as a simplified sales funnel, creating assets at the top of the group, and then putting posts out there that talk about the result that a person can get as a result of accessing that asset. I call it a live asset, and them saying, hey, I want that, and them coming right into the group. And like I said, sometimes saying, you know what, you have a program that'll probably get me the results faster. Let me do the program. Like, I'll come into your group, but I want the actual program. It's an amazing tool, and there are so many different ways to connect with people on Facebook. So, and I like to laugh. I say Facebook is kind of like the granny panties of social media, but it is the place where you really have so many opportunities to build that deeper connection with people, show your authority, show more of who you are. Because, you know, everyone's running to TikTok, and I'm just like, you know, you can't even message someone on TikTok. And I always say, like, where are your people? Not when they're in entertainment mode. Like, when I want to watch funny videos, when I want to see cats and dogs playing with each other, like, I'll go on TikTok, you know. But when I'm in kind of like the mode where I'm open to solutions, if they happen to cross my path, that would normally be when I'm on Facebook.
How often, I'm going to circle back to your personal page, so that's where you're kind of active in your group. Mm-hmm. So in your personal page, how much are you sharing about your daily life and homeschooling your kids? And so what is your mix of content that goes in your personal page?
Yeah, that's a great question, because there are some people who don't feel comfortable showing their children, or being too vulnerable, or showing too much of their personal life. And I'll be completely honest, I don't show it as much. I'd say maybe once or twice a month, I'll post something about homeschooling or something about my children. What I tend to talk about more on my personal page, besides the value bait posts, is just kind of the personal journey that I've been on. And it's really important, I feel like, to show yourself embodying the results that you have and the results that you know that your audience members want, the results that you help facilitate for your clients. So if you sell confidence, how confidently are you showing up, right? Whether it's in written content or in video form. So that's where I kind of do posts that show a little bit about my journey. And it's me as like the main character, but it's posted in such a way that it's really easy for my audience members to put themselves in my shoes and see themselves walking in my shoes and them getting the result. And, so it's really more about your audience member, and you're just kind of pulling little bits of stories that will inspire them from your life.
We really are getting focused in on copywriting, because I don't think people realize how something can be written, in a bunch of different ways, but one of them is the best way that's really going to touch that soft spot, is really going to reach your people. And it's just finding that.
Yeah, absolutely. And one of the ways that I love to encourage everyone to find that is to ask smart questions. So putting out, I call them sometimes unpopular opinion posts or true or false posts, and just asking questions and having conversations. And in those threads, you will find a treasure trove of inspiration for copy, because what could be easier than pulling the words out of your audience's mouth, seeing how they describe something? I remember I used to have subscriptions to like Uber Suggest and what were some of the other ones? Ask the Public. You can do better than that. You can go directly to the people who are following you and who are part of your community and understand exactly how they're speaking about it. Creating your audience and being really intentional about the people that you connect with. So one of the things that I always encourage people to do is you'll see a lot of people posting about how they hate getting either friend requests or they hate getting cold DMs. But the reality is, it's not that they hate getting friend requests. They don't like the immediate jumping into the DMs to try and sell them, and those questions that kind of, where it's going and they just want to sell you something right away. People love connecting with other people. So I always encourage proactively sending friend requests. This way you're cultivating your audience. Your audience, content is nothing if it's going to fall on eyes that are not aligned with who your ideal client would potentially be. So instead of, getting bombarded with those friend requests, go out there and look at the people that Facebook suggests as friends. Just click the button and hit a friend request. The only thing that I've ever gotten reaction-wise to that is, oh, hey, I noticed, you sent me a friend request. What made you decide to want to reach out to me? And I'll always have gone through a little bit of their timeline first, get a vibe for who they are and see that we have some alignments. And I'll say, oh, I see that you do this, that, and the other. I find that really interesting. And I just love connecting with other women in business. And that's it from there. And they'll usually say, oh, okay, wonderful. And from there, they're in my world. I don't follow up with any DMs after that. I know that they're going to see my content and that the content is going to do the warming up that, for me. I just started attracting amazing women, mainly using those value bait posts in cold groups, and then to access the live assets. And I don't like calling them freebies, because I'm really big on the idea that, your definition of everything is the vibe that the energy that you're gonna approach it with. So I call it live group assets. So they come in for whatever specific group asset that I put the value bait out into the group that I got them from. And then they come in. And so I'm cultivating this community with highly aligned members, as opposed to when I first started, just sending random invites into the group from people that I didn't know. And so it takes on a vibe of a real community versus just group type of sense. And, I get to watch now, not just buying from me and investing with me, but investing with each other. And I've even invested with a few of them. So it's become this place that is really a fertile ground of empowering each other, operating in a spirit of abundance, and just being able to be yourself and hold both ideas that you're good enough right now as you are, and you also get to work on your strategy and mindset at the same time. So the groups that I did boil down to that it was worth the while that you could promote, they were always saying, well, add value first. So I just, okay, they want value first. Okay, so it's value bait. You're putting value into their group and you're putting that bait out there. And sure enough, it does an amazing job for getting the best people from their groups in and attracting the best leads from your group or your personal page. It's not so much like writing a whole story about yourself. It's about understanding what pieces of each story, because we all have so many individual stories within the longer story, right? So it's about understanding which pieces from which story you can bring in and really create that connection that are really going to connect for your audience. You know, so much about being successful with your content, and especially on a platform like Facebook, is being a really good listener, right? Seeing what other people are talking about. And like you said, like learning through observing other people, what they're talking about. And when you hear them talk about their journey, looking at the ways that you relate to what they went through. And that really helps you to pull the strategic pieces from your own stories and know how to put that into your posts so that it's really gonna make them feel seen and heard. Because, you know, another big part of content creation is making people feel seen and heard. You know, especially nowadays, a lot of people, like we're seeing a lot of division and a lot of people just react very emotionally. And a big part of that is because so many people don't feel seen and don't feel heard, even amongst in their own household, you know, whether it's a spouse or their children or their parents or who, you know, siblings, or at work, right, with their employer, their coworkers. So where you can create content that takes people on a brief journey that allows them to feel seen and heard through a little bit of your story. And, you know, that's gold. That in itself is gold and forms such a strong connection. And I also like to say that a lot of times in entrepreneurship in general, one of our biggest jobs is building bridges and connecting dots. With practice, you learn how to build these bridges between your stories and what they've been through and where they want to go. And also connecting dots, you know, bringing things together. This is kind of where like the creativity gets to run loose, you know, connecting dots for people and connecting dots for yourself to understand how these different pieces fit together and how you can do something different, either with your content or if it's a live that you want to do video-based content, that's going to be different and be, you know, more engaging. So yeah, those are like some of the different pieces that really you get to bring together. Really, when I started talking about something else called reflection marketing, I realized like it all begins with you. If you feel taken care of and you feel, you know, like you see yourself, if you feel like you're in touch with yourself and you feel heard by yourself, which may sound a little weird when you first hear it, it makes it easier for you to not only do that for others and understand how others want to feel because you're doing it for yourself, but even if it's just a picture, that energy, it comes across in the energetic component of your content, whether it's video content, whether it's written content, that energy comes across. You know, I've seen people who just have this very scattered energy, this very chaotic energy. And even if they're, you know, the multimillionaire entrepreneur or coach, they're always doing something, like they're just all over the place. And that can come across as feeling a little heavy, you know, and it's like, when do you take time to enjoy this and enjoy that? And I found that the more that I connect to myself, the more that I show myself a little TLC, and whatever that means for that day, if it's taking a nap and getting off of social media, or if it's going to the spa and sitting in the infrared sauna and deep breathing in the salt cave, you know, or going and getting my root touch up or something like that. You have to put yourself first as an entrepreneur in terms of like that self-care component. I used to, and I think as a society as a whole, we wear this busy like it's a badge of honor. And I remember I used to turn down lunches with friends or going out for a night of woo-hooing with the girls. Oh, I'm too busy. And it was like, well, I'm too busy to engage in that silliness. I'm working on this and this over here. So I think a lot of it also has to do with the hustle culture that we've been fed for so many years, and the kind of way that that's shifted our values a little bit, and the importance that we place on certain things and take away from other things. So self-care, I feel like, just really radiates. And it also is something that others aspire to do more for themselves. So I always say there's a fine line between jealousy and flaunting, like creating that jealousy vibe, which a lot of content creators do go for. And you see that a lot more on Instagram, selling, a very lavish lifestyle that maybe didn't 100% come from their business, but giving it more of a, hey, aspire to do this, aspire to take a little time to have that TLC for yourself and that self-care and to ground yourself in your own energy. I think it isn't important to give your audience something to not be jealous of, and not in that ick way, but to aspire to. And it all starts with you.
I love that. And it's so funny because I feel like when you talk about the hustle culture, there are a lot of people that don't want to build up, $100 million business. Right? Like if you knew it went into that, it's a lot, right? There's nothing wrong with wanting that as your goal. But for a lot of people, it's building a business that supports a lifestyle that allows them to spend time with their family. It gives them the money to put away for retirement, which helps build them some financial security, which is good for most people. So it's not about like being this multi-billionaire or building this massive company. So if you can step back from the hustle and really think about what are your goals, what is your values, do you need $10,000 a month or $20,000 a month or $100,000 a month coming into your business? And then what's your profit margin on that? How much of that are you actually keeping? And then does that support the lifestyle that you envision for yourself and your future self? So I think that those types of things can really help us decide when we should pass up things. Like there might be a time when you shouldn't go to lunch because you're in the middle of creating something big that you want to get out on a certain date and you pass up on lunch. But then realizing that other days it makes sense to go to lunch and have laughs and feel good with your friends and then come back, recharge and get some things done later. So yeah, I love that too.
Yeah, that supports the best ideas come from, when you're not working, when you're out going for a walk, when you're taking a shower, when you're, playing with your dog. It'll be like all of a sudden, I know whenever I have, especially a technology problem and I stop and I move on and do something else. Sometimes it comes to me in dreams. Sometimes I'll dream about, sad but true, and I'll come up with the answer, or it'll just be, you just have that space to relax and not feel overwhelmed. And then that's when I feel like I get the best creative ideas.
Absolutely. It's really important and healthy for your creativity also, just to create that healthy space between yourself and your business and yourself and social media in general. That's why, I said, wow, I can just be on Facebook and create all of this other free time for myself. Whereas I was trying to be everywhere at once. That was a huge game changer for my energy, for my, how present I was able to be while homeschooling my kids with my children and being present in my marriage. It becomes a little bit overwhelming for everyone around you when you just have this tunnel vision and the one breath, but also like you're throwing spaghetti at the wall, because that is energetically exhausting. So when you find something that works and you're able to stick with it and just keep things simple. And like you said, Kristen, I know, and I've worked with so many women we hear a lot about 10K month, 10K month. Someone wrote it on a wall that 10K months are the thing that you're supposed to go charging headfirst towards, even as a brand new coach or a brand new entrepreneur. And like you said, you don't know that person has a team behind them, how much of that money is actually going towards the thing that they want, how much of their time are they actually spending doing things that fuel them and make them feel amazing. And so mindset wise, it can cause us to subconsciously slam the brakes on our business growth, because like you said, a lot of people don't want to be that level where they need a team and they need this and they need that. They just want to be happy. And so I stopped focusing on numbers and started focusing on impact. And that's where getting into Facebook and really being active in my own Facebook community really allows that feeling to let go of the numbers and stop always looking at it, to stop emphasizing and just looking at it as a numbers game, and really look at it and embrace the feedback and the impact that I see going on in the community. And that feels amazing, because, and what we're seeing a lot now, they had the Great Resignation and it's still happening. And of course, mind is a tricky thing sometimes. And so what I find a lot of times with clients too, is that they'll come out of, or start the process of coming out of 9-to-5 in corporate land and start building their businesses, and then subconsciously start building the same kind of confines of time and energy that they felt in their business, because it's familiar, and building that into their business. And because they didn't take that time to have that conversation with themselves and just be really honest with themselves. And you have to do that, especially if you're going to be on social media, because like you said, you'll start seeing all the posts about different things and you get different things marketed to you. And so, FOMO and shiny object syndrome are real. And it becomes very easy to lose focus of what your personal definition of fulfillment and success are when you enter really like the online and social media.
Well, Lisa, this has been so fun. I'm so glad you came to see us today. And we hope that maybe you come back again another day to talk to us.
I'd love to, of course.
Great.
So that's Jeanne with Six Figure Business Coaching. And Jeanne's going to tell you in just a minute who will be our guest coming up. But if you'd like to learn more about outsourcing with a marketing virtual assistant, we have a great value-based piece of assets, as you would say. This double your income with a marketing virtual assistant, and we'll put a link to that as well. And who is our guest next week, Miss Jeanne?
Her name is Taryn LaRue. I think I'm saying that right. And she is with Swiss Social, and she is a Pinterest strategist. So I'm excited to have her come, because Pinterest, we're getting there. But Pinterest has, gone through some changes, but is also a very powerful SEO platform. So we're excited to learn more about that. Thanks again, Lisa. It's been lovely having you.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
So from Kirsten and I, thanks for being here. We'll see y'all next week.